Stunning. James Webb Space Telescope photo shows merging galaxies shining with light of a trillion suns. Arc 220, found in the constellation the Serpents, is an ultra-luminous infrared galaxy that shines brighter than more than 1 trillion suns, according to the Space Telescope's Science Institute. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope captured brilliant images of two spiral galaxies 250 million light-years away that have been merging for the last 700 million years. Arc 220, found in the constellation the Serpents, is an ultra-luminous infrared galaxy that shines brighter than more than 1 trillion suns, according to the Space Telescope Science Institute. In comparison, the STSI says the Milky Way doesn't shine as bright and has a luminosity of only about 10 billion suns. Webb telescope captures glowing starbursts as galaxies collide. By Ashley Strickland, CNN, Monday, April 17, 2023. The scintillating light show from the ultra-luminous infrared galaxy is the spike starburst featured at the center of the new Webb image, which was released on Monday. The telescope's near-infrared camera and mid-infrared instrument captured the composite image. Arc 220 is located 250 million light-years away in the Serpents constellation, and it's the biggest of the three galactic mergers closest to Earth. These two galaxies began colliding about 700 billion years ago, and as the gas and dust combined, a tremendous flare of stars' birth began. There are around 200 massive star clusters contained in a dusty region that stretches 5,000 light-years across, which is about 5% of the Milky Way's diameter. Yet there's enough gas in this small region, astronomically speaking, to replace all the gas in the entire Milky Way. JWST spectrometer reshifts of distant galaxies. April 18, 2023. Before liftoff, the Near Space Instrument being tested on the ground prior to the launch of the JWST, the NIRS spec instrument on the James Webb Space Telescope has revealed that a faraway galaxy previously thought to be at a record-breaking reshift of 16.4 is actually most closer to Earth. The study has confirmed that some other objects observed by JWST are among the most distant galaxies ever seen. Cosmological reshift is a measure of how much a galaxy's light has been stretched to longer, redder wavelengths by the expansion of the universe. The higher the redshift, the more time that light from a galaxy must have spent moving through the expanding cosmos. This means that we see high reshift objects as they appeared a very long time ago, and that the objects are very far away. Astronomers are very keen on studying high redshift galaxies because they provide a window into the early universe. Indeed, recent observations support an emerging picture that galaxies in the early universe were more massive, more developed, and more luminous than had been previously predicted. Several faint galaxies. In the summer of 2022, the JWST's first deep surveys of the distant universe turned up several faint galaxies that were estimated to be the highest redshift galaxies ever seen. One object is called Maze's Galaxy that was discovered in JWST data by a team led by Steve Finkelstein of the University of Texas at Austin. The galaxy was initially thought to be at redshift 14.3, which would have placed it just 280 million light years after the Big Bang. Another candidate, SIRS 9336, found by a team led by Callum Donahan of the University of Edinburgh, appears to be at the redshift of 16.4, which equates to just 250 million years after the Big Bang. For comparison, the most distant confirmed galaxy known prior to the launch of the JWST was GN Zell, which has a redshift of 11.6. Revised redshifts. These early JWST measurements were made using a photometric metric technique, which gauges the overall redness of a galaxy. While this technique can be used on faint, distant objects, it can also be affected by the presence of dust and is not as accurate as measuring the shifts of individual spectral lines. Now, a team of astronomers have used JWST's near-infrared spectrometer to observe the galaxies and have refined the redshift estimates with mixed results. Unfortunately, the redshift 16.4 candidate turned out to be a low redshift, says Donovan, who is a member of the team led by Pablo Areno Hari of NOAA Lab in Arizona, because the inspect data was immediately made public with no preparatory time for the scientists who proposed the observation. Hans's team had to rewrite their paper in less than 3 days to avoid being beaten to the punch. Rather than being at 16.4, Seats 9936 was found to be a dusty galaxy at a redshift at 4.9, meaning that we see it as it existed 12.5 billion years ago, Donovan's team has previously thought. They had a strong case for a record-breaking redshift, particularly as the galaxy displays strong blue and ultraviolet emission in its rest frame as it prepares with the redshift removed. However, the combination of very strong emission lines coupled with the fact that one of those lines of the hydrogen alpha wavelength was in a position where 3 of narrow-specs filters overlap so that the emission line contributes to all 3, erroneously gave the impression that SIR 9336 was an intrinsically luminous galaxy at a much more higher redshift. Macy's galaxies. There was better news than the reshift stakes for Macy's galaxy, which was revealed to be at a redshift of 11.4. This is still a very high redshift and indicates a galaxy that is dust-free. The galaxy also has a relatively high star formation rate and a total stellar mass of 250 million times the mass of the Sun. This mass has grown over a period of 13 to 120 million years prior to the time we see Macy's galaxy. A further 8 galaxies have now also been shown by NIRSpec to have redshifts greater than 10. The current record holder is JARS CS Z130, which has a spectroscopically confirmed redshift of 13.2, and which we see as it existed just 350 million years after the Big Bang. Donovan is still hopeful that JWST will be able to discover galaxies with spectroscope redshifts greater than 14. It's possible, especially in deeper imaging, he tells Physics World. Dust production. Not that a well-studied galaxy at a redshift of 4.9 is anything to be sniffled at. Studying the properties of a galaxy that existed when the universe was just over 1 billion years old is crucial as understanding how galaxies had developed in terms of their star formation. This can be inferred from the amount of dust that successively generation of stars produce, the same dust that causes shares 93316 to appear. Rather, we need to do a more detailed analysis of the properties of Sears NEN 3316, but appears to be dusty, says Donovan. We need to look into its star formation history if you want to understand how it came to be. Meanwhile, further observations are planned for the very high redshift galaxies such as Mace's galaxy, according to Finkelstein, who is also involved with the NIRSpec study. Deeper spectroscopy. The next step is definitely deeper spectroscopy to probe exactly what is causing Mace's galaxy to be so blue, he says, referring to its rest frame color. The leading theory is that early galaxies, such as Mace's galaxy, had a higher proportion of luminous blue, massive stars compared to galaxies today. Observations using one of the Keck 10 meter telescopes in Hawaii are already underway, and Feinstein hopes to follow up with JWST in the future. We'll be looking for weaker rest UV emission lines features, which are diagnostic for things including the presence of very massive stars, and also how intense the starlight is from the stars we see, says Finkelstein. Ultimately, the findings are a reminder of the need for spectroscope confirmation of galaxies, redshifts, and that until such measurements are made, we should take chains of record-breaking photometric redshifts with caution. Webb Space Telescope shows off amazing power by spotting compact galaxy. The galaxy existed about 510 million years after the Big Bang event, marking the universe's origin. April 16, 2023. Reuters. Using first of their kind observations from the James Webb Space Telescope, researchers detected a unique galaxy, highly compact but with star formation still at a rate similar to our much larger Milky Way, existing about 13.3 billion years ago, that could help astronomers learn more about galaxies that were presented relatively shortly after the Big Bang. The detection of highly compact galaxies that form relatively soon after the Big Bang and displayed an impressive rate of star formation, is the latest example of how the James Webb Space Telescope is reshaping our understanding of the early universe. Scientists said the galaxy dating to 13.3 billion years ago has a diameter of approximately 100 light years, about 1,000 times smaller than the Milky Way, but forms new stars at a rate very similar to that of our much larger present-day galaxy. A light year is the distance light travels in a year, 5.9 trillion miles. It existed about 510 million years after the Big Bang event, marking the universe's origin. The universe at that time was less than 4% of its current age. The discovery is another example how observations by the Webb, which was launched in 2021 and began collecting data last year, are transforming our knowledge of the nature of the early universe. The Orbitate Infrared Observatory was designed to be far more sensitive than its Hubble Space Telescope's processor. Our current understandings of galaxy formation in the early universe doesn't predict that we would see this many galaxies at such early times in the universe's life. So this is really exciting, said Harvey Williams, a University of Minnesota doctoral student in astrophysics and lead author of the study, published this week in the journal Science. As we observe more and more of these distant galaxies, we'll be able to put together a more complete picture of how the first galaxies in our universe came to be, Williams added. We are seeing that the galaxies that existed in the early universe are very different from the galaxies that exist today, and that our usual assumptions about galaxy properties may not apply in the early universe. Webb looks at the universe mainly in the infrared, while Hubble has examined it primarily at optical and ultraviolet wavelengths. Webb possesses a much bigger light collection area, letting it look at greater distances, thus further back in time than Hubble. The James Webb Space Telescope reach into the first billion years of the universe has been amazing and has given astronomers a lot to consider and try to understand about when and how many galaxies form. University of Minnesota astronomy professor and study co-author Patrick Keith said, "What is being observed in the newly described galaxy," Kelly said, "might be a global cluster, a tightly bound collection of tens of thousands to millions of stars in the process of forming. This galaxy," Kelly said, "is absolutely tiny in relative terms." Nevertheless, we found that was forming about two stars each year, which is similar to the rate at which the Milky Way is forming stars, Kelly added. The researchers examined the galaxy's chemical composition, finding, for example, an oxygen abundance much lower than typically found in present-day galaxies, and for good reason. Oxygen and other elements heavier than hydrogen and helium are forced into thermonuclear furnaces at the interior of stars and then blown into space when stars explode at the end of their life cycle. Because so many fewer stars have lived and died at that time in the universe, such heavier elements were more scarce. Observing this galaxy was aided by a phenomena called gravitational lensing that occurs when an immense amount of matter, like a grouping of galaxies, creates a gravitational field that distorts and magnifies light traveling from distant galaxies located behind it, but in the same line of sight. The combined power of the James Webb Space Telescope and the galaxy's magnification due to gravitational lensing allows us to study this galaxy in detail, Williams said. The James Webb Space Telescope keeps finding galaxies that shouldn't exist, the scientist has warned. Six of the earliest and most massive galaxies that NASA's Breakthrough Telescope has seen so far appears to be bigger and more mature than they should be given where they are in the universe, researchers have warned. The new findings built on previous research where scientists reported that despite coming from the very beginning of the universe, the galaxies were as mature as our own Milky Way. Now, a new paper has appeared to confirm these findings by stress testing the galaxy to better. And if the masses are right, then we are in uncharted territory, said Mike Mullen Cochin from the University of Texas at Austin, and the author of a new paper examining the unusual galaxies. We require something very new about galaxy. We require something very new about galaxy formation or a modification to cosmology. One of the most extreme possibilities is that the universe was expanding faster shortly after the Big Bang than we predicted, which might require new focus and particles. Professor Bohan Cochin's paper, Stress Testing ACDM with High Redshift Galaxy Candidates, has been publishing in Nature's Astronomy this week. It suggests that the information from the JWST proposes a profound dilemma for scientists. The data indicates that there might be something wrong with the dark energy and cold dark matter paradigm, or ACDM, that has been guiding cosmology for decades. Usually, galaxies convert around 10% of their gases into stars, but the newly discovered galaxies would have to be converting almost the entirety of it into stars. This is theoretically possible, but is departure from what scientists would ever have expected. Further observation of the galaxies should better clarify their ages and masses. It might show that the observations are incorrect, that supermassive black holes at their center are heating the galaxies up so they look more massive than they are, or that they're actually from a later time than expected, but look older because of imaging problems. But if they are confirmed, then astrologers may have to change their understanding of the cosmos and how galaxies grow to adjust their model to account for the unusual, large, and mature universes. James Webb discoveries are challenging what we know about the universe's evolution. Joshua Hawkins, Yahoo, Saturday, April 15th, 2023. Everything we know about the evolution of the early universe is currently being challenged. Multiple galaxies discovered by the James Webb Telescope do not match up with the standard model of cosmology that astronomers currently believe in. According to a new study published in Nature Astronomy, 6 of the earliest galaxies that Webb has observed contradict how astronomers currently look at the evolution of the early universe. The author of the study, Mike Bowen-Colchin, says that these galaxies are too big to fit our current models. When we look at the evolution of the early universe, we often expect to see much smaller galaxies. However, out of the 6 that Bowen-Colchin focuses on, all of them are much more massive than scientists previously believed possible within that time. Astronomers estimate each of the galaxies to be from 500 to 700 million years ago. However, each of them measure over 10 billion times as massive as our Sun. In fact, one of them even appears to be much more massive than the Milky Way, although our galaxy has had billions of more years to evolve and shed its ancient core. These discoveries, Bowen-Colchin says, could completely change how we address the evolution of the early universe. Bowen-Colchin says that we're in uncharted territory. If the massive scientist estimate turns out to be correct, this discovery could require that we look at unknown forces and particles to try to understand how the universe expanded so quickly to include such heavily evolved galaxies. It's also possible that we aren't looking back as far as we thought. We need more research to draw a final conclusion. Of course, we always knew that James Webb was going to change things we thought we understood. The telescope is peering deeper into space and further back in time than we ever been able to do before. It's likely that this is just one of many things that would challenge our current understanding of the evolution of the early universe. But each challenge that comes forward allows us to look close at what we know and don't know. It allows us to clean up lines that have remained blurred for decades, lines that we need to more clearly trace if we want to truly understand it all. One of the oldest galaxies ever was found with a James Webb Space Telescope. The observation is among the first of a distant galaxy using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope since it was launched in December 2021 by Jerusalem Post staff, published April 16, 2023. This illustration depicts NASA James Webb Space Telescope, the largest, most powerful, and most complex space science telescope ever built, fully unfolded in space. The telescope's first full-color images and spectrographic data will demonstrate Webb at its full power, ready to begin its mission. The James Webb Telescope has discovered a galaxy from 13 billion years ago. The finding, published Thursday in the peer-reviewed journal Science, is among the smallest ever discovered at this distance, around 500 million years after the Big Bang. Astronomers from the University of Minnesota who made the discovery said it could lead to more information about galaxies that were present shortly after the universe came into existence. The observation is among the first of a distant galaxy uses the James Webb Space Telescope. This JWST photo of the youngest known exploding star in our galaxy is incredible. The incredible James Webb Space Telescope is back with another wow-worthy picture of Cassiopeia A by Devin McGinnis, April 18th, 2023. NASA. The incredible James Webb Telescope is back with another astounding image that captures a dramatic and somewhat rare space event. As a result, the youngest known star to explode in our galaxy and what was left behind can now be studied in these jaw-dropping images. NASA released the new image in early April, and it shows an incredible picture of Cassiopeia A, a supernova remnant that was created 340 years ago. From the perspective here on Earth, it's the youngest known remnant from an exploding star, and scientists are excited to study it to learn more about why and how these explosions happen. Cas A represents our best opportunity to look at the debris field of an exploded star and run a kind of stellar autopsy to understand what type of star was there beforehand and how the star exploded. Danny Mizlich of Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, principal investigator of the Webb program that captured these observations, said, according to NASA, compared to previous infrared images, we see the incredible detail that we have been able to access before, added Tia Terminen of Princeton University in Princeton, New Jersey, co-investigator on the program. Can you explain what we see in these photos like we're 5 years old? This supernova remnant is located approximately 11,000 light years from Earth in the Cassiopeia constellation, and its full length is 10 light years. Using the mid-infrared camera from JWST, we can see so much detail, and the scientists are still trying to sort through everything they're looking at. The colors in the image alone hold a lot of information. The outer part of the remnant, seen as orange and red curtains of material, shows where ejected material from an exploded star is crashing into surrounding gas and dust. Inside the remnant, molten filaments of bright pink represents material from the star itself that is shining due to various heavy elements and dust. There are also fainter wisps of material near the center. One of the questions scientists hope to answer with Cas A is where cosmic dust comes from. They've been able to look at younger galaxies in the universe that have lots of dust, but they're still trying to formulate where all the dust comes from. It's difficult to explain the origin of this dust without involving supernovas, which spew large quantities of heavy elements, the building blocks of dust across space, NASA notes. NASA notes that supernovas, like the one that created Cas A, are key for life as we know it because they spread elements like iron and calcium across space, which are necessary for stars, plants, and, well, people. Webb telescope flexes its muscles with this deep, deep view into space. Galaxies, galaxies, and more galaxies. By Mark Kaufman on April 15th, 2023. The James Webb Space Telescope peered at this small patch of the sky for around 20 hours to capture rich detail of extremely distant galaxies. In the image above and below, pretty much everything you see is a galaxy. And this is just a tiny patch of sky viewed by the James Webb Space Telescope. Whether a stunning spiral or more distant fuzzy point of light, each galaxy is full of intrigue, and each is surely filled with billions and billions of planets, tweeted astronomer Paul Bryan. This scene comes from a celebrated part of the cosmos called the Hubble Deep Field. It's where the legendary school-bus-sized Hubble telescope peered at a patch of sky just 1/30th the diameter of the moon as seen from the Earth, showing the dozens of our planets, an eye-opening cosmic vista. Now astronomers have turned the most powerful telescope ever built Webb at the deep field. Well, what they saw demonstrates the instrument's unprecedented power and ability to capture bounties of cosmic insight. It took Hubble over 11 days to capture its historic deep field location in the constellation Ursa Major, close to the handle of the Big Dipper, in such high resolution. In 2022, Webb took only about 20 hours to observe the same field in high resolution, said NASA. Scientists have a good reason for returning to this deeply investigated patch of space. They want to know how the first galaxies formed billions of years ago. We don't know. We don't exactly know how galaxies became how they are today, NASA explained. With its sensitivity, Webb is helping astronomers hunt for the first galaxies and better understand star formation and other galactic properties in the early universe. To view these early galaxies, astronomers used the Webb telescope's main imaging camera, the near-infrared camera, or NIRCam, which can detect some of the faintest light in the cosmos. The specialized instrument allows scientists to tease out where new stars are being created in those distant galaxies, specifically by seeing hot ionized gas. Many newly formed stars release intense radiation that excites the abundant hydrogen atoms in surrounding clouds of gas, offering proof of star formation. The detailed view of these distant cosmos takes under a day of observation, are also just simply remarkable. I think that seeing how beautiful the images are and how much quality they ended up being was definitely a high point. I think that seeing how beautiful the images are and how high quality they ended up being was definitely a high point. Christiana Williams, an astronomer at the National Science Foundation, said in a statement, "We calculated that we'd be able to do things like this, but it was different to see it and have the real data in practice." James Webb Space Telescope captures youngest supernova remnant in the Milky Way, published on April 17, 2023. The James Webb Space Telescope captured a stunning image of Cassiopeia A, which is the youngest known remnant of a massive star that exploded about 340 years ago. The picture provides scientists the opportunity to find out more about such supernovas occur. Dissecting the image. Cassiopeia A spans about 10 light years and is located 11,000 light years away. It is a prototypical supernova remnant that has been widely studied in the past. Thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope's multi-wavelength observation, scientists have now been provided a more comprehensive understanding of the remnant. As David Malefiglit, the principal investigator of the Webb program that captured these observations, said in a statement, Cat A. Cas A represents our best opportunity to look at the debris field of an exploded star and run a kind of stellar autopsy to understand what type of star was there beforehand and how that star exploded. The image features many striking colors that the research team is beginning to investigate. On the top and left of the image lies curtains of material that appear orange and red due to emission from warm dust. This marks where ejected material from the exploding star meets its surrounding gas and dust. The clumps and knots of pink depict the material from the star itself, which includes a mix of oxygen, argon, neon, dust emission, and more. Scientists are currently looking into these sources of emission. The green loop also remains a mystery to scientists. Nicknamed the Green Monster in honor of Fenway Park in Boston, the loop is dotted with many bubbles that scientists cannot yet explain. For now, this image sparks awe in the beauty and mystery of space, but for a selected few, the image will guide years of research. A malogist noted, by understanding the process of exploding stars, we're reading our own origin story. I'm going to spend the rest of my career trying to understand what's in this data set. What is a supernova? A supernova, like Cas A, is what occurs after a star has reached the end of life and explodes in a brilliant burst of light. Supernovas can briefly radiate more energy than our sun will in its entire lifetime and are the primary source of heavy elements in the universe. Supernovas can be classified as either type 1 or type 2. In a type 1 supernova, a star accumulates matter from a nearby neighbor until a runaway nuclear reaction ignites. They typically originate from white dwarf stars. As the gas of the companion star accumulates on the white dwarf, it essentially sets off a nuclear reaction that leads to a supernova outburst. In type 2 supernova, a star runs out of nuclear fuel and collapses under its own gravity. Once a star surpasses a certain mass, it begins to implode. Eventually, the implosion bounces back off the core, which expels the stellar material into space and forms the supernova. Cas A was a Type 2 supernova. It originated from the collapse of a helium core of a red supergiant that had lost most of the hydrogen envelope before exploding. NASA James Webb Space Telescope revealing new details of the early universe. April 9th, 2023, CBS News. The earliest known galaxy ever found, recently uncovered and confirmed by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. But astrophysicist Brant Robertson, who helped make the discovery as part of the JADES team, said that he doesn't expect the current record will hold for long. The telescope is so powerful that it's expected to find even earlier galaxies, he told 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley. If you spend enough time, you could probably find any galaxy that ever formed in the universe, Robertson said. It's really that powerful. The telescope was launched on Christmas Day in 2021 and is on a mission to find light from the first stars and galaxies. Since its successful deployment, it's captured stunning images of the moments before a star's death and galaxies dating back just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang. Robertson of the University of California, Santa Cruz helped lead Webb's most ambitious mission, JADES. The JWST Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey. That survey led to the discovery of a galaxy more than 33 billion light years away. It formed 320 billion years after the Big Bang. So far, Robinson's team has discovered two galaxies from the time when the universe was just 2% of its current age. One of them is forming stars around the same rate as the Milky Way, even though it's 100 times less massive. So it's really like a hummingbird. The heartbeat of the galaxy is racing, Robertson said. Astronomers and astrophysicists analyze the spectrum of light captured by Webb. They can measure how fast the galaxy formed. Stars estimate the number of stars in the galaxy and much more. Astrophysicist Erica Nelson of the University of California, Boulder is part of a team investigating what may be 5 giant galaxies that appear to have formed too big too quickly after the Big Bang. Either this is wrong or this is a huge discovery, and we think that it's a huge discovery, Nelson said. More observations are needed, but Nelson says that, if confirmed, the discovery would break the theory of how the early universe formed. And that's the most exciting piece of this telescope, of this remarkable instrument we put in space, is finding things that we didn't expect, that we can't explain, she says, because that means that we have to revise our understanding of the universe. Webb will make even more discoveries over the coming years. Matt Mountain, who manages Webb's operation for NASA as the president of AURA, believes that the observatory may last up to 25 years. With the Webb, Mountain says there's no empty sky. On almost every image we've taken down, we see galaxies everywhere. I mean, we take a small picture of a planet in our own system, Neptune. You know, it was just this beautiful orb just sitting there, and we saw some rings. In the background are galaxies again. Mountain said, it tells us that our universe is filled with galaxies. We know this theoretically, but when you go out to the night sky, we used to saying, well, look up at the night sky. We see those stars. We can no longer say that. We now have to say, look up at the night sky, and there are galaxies everywhere. Webb's primary mission is to reveal the let there be light moment when the stars and the galaxies first ignited after the Big Bang. The powerful $10 billion telescope, 25 years in the making, is considered the successor to the 32-year-old Hubble. Webb has captured a direct image of a planet located outside of our solar system. It's been used to get extremely detailed images of thousands of never before seen young stars in a region known as the Tarantula Nebula. The telescope has also shown previously unseen stars and intricate detail in towering clouds of gas known as the pillars of creation. Since WED captures infrared light, which is invisible to the human eyes, Alicia Pagan and Joe Disquapo follow a scientifically rigorous method of taking data from WED and matching it with wavelengths people can see to make the awe-inspiring images released to the public. Pagan and Desqualis are among the first people in history to see the images of the cosmic discoveries captured by Webb. It is a great honor, and it does blow your mind every time, Bacon said. Some of the discoveries leave even the experts starstruck. Purdue University astronomer Dan Miluljek studies exploded stars, which were the furnaces that forged the first heavy elements from a cosmos of simple helium and hydrogen. Webb reveals unprecedented detail at the center of these explosions. Miluljek said, every time there's a supernova explosion, it's producing the raw materials for life, the iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen that we breathe. Milojev said, all that is being manufactured in supernova explosions. Even as it's helping astronomers and astrophysicists learn more, the Webb telescope is a reminder how much we do not know about the universe, Mountain said. For instance, Mountain said, little is known about dark energy and dark matter, two elements believed to make up almost the entire universe. We are lucky if we understand 4% of our universe today, Mountain said. The science of Sirius, mythology, and our two sun solar systems by the Human Origin Project. If you had a long lost brother or sister, would you try to find them? Of course, they are a part of you. The idea that Earth has two suns seems outlandish at first. If you look at the sun, at the sky, one sun rises during the day. Why would anyone ever think that our solar system has two suns? To begin with, we know very little about how our own sun or star came to be. Current models suggest that the solar system formed in a nebula and gas cloud or just gases. Today's new research into the star formation and dynamic galaxy systems are telling a new story. They reveal the livelihood of our sun being a binary star, having a twin or siblings. Do we really have two suns? It's a very big question. The binary star hypothesis is building momentum. So what is the binary star partner of our sun? Everything we know about our sun relates to a calendar. It measures the Earth's orbit and other bodies in the solar system. Calendars have their roots all over the planet in ancient astronomy. Do these ancient societies understand the binary twins? Sirius mythology was the focus of ancient folklore all around the world. When we combine a modern and an ancient view of the calendar systems, the evidence for a Sirius star partner becomes very apparent. Could the Sirius star not only be the brightest star in the sky, but our second sun? Would it prove Sirius mythology to be real? It's a mystery that, if solved, would be a critical piece of the human origin story. Do binary stars exist? Astronomy moved from an Earth-centered universe to a solar system model very slowly. In 1532, Copernicus wrote his sun-planet model, which he was too scared to publish. In 1632, Galileo was brave enough to do so. He was persecuted by the church for his effects. It took 200 years until 1835 for the solar system to be finally published again. Since the 20th century, astronomers are moving toward a similar leap in human thought. It is a known fact that most stars exist in binary systems. Today, astronomy is at the pursuit of the sibling of our own sun. It could be the biggest advancement of human thought since the discovery of the solar system. Our reality is that the sun is a tiny star in a sea of potential brothers and sisters. The dynamic universe theory explains our solar system is in a spinning spiral galaxy. Within the swirling corkscrew, stars have orbital siblings or binaries. They come from star nurseries that birth multiple star partners. Research confirms binary systems are more normal than single systems. NASA states that 90% of stars begin with a binary partner. It also confirms that our solar system was once a binary system. We have stopped short of saying what that partner is. Let's now explore Sirius mythology alongside modern astronomy. The Gregorian calendar and leap year paradox. We take it for granted that the idea that the Earth rotates the Sun is the most influential force for life on Earth. From day-night cycles to seasonal change in modern society, it's easy to forget your deep connection to the Sun. Have you ever stopped to think about how your calendar tracks the movements of the solar system? The Earth rotates on its axis for day and night. It also orbits around the Sun for the year. The Gregorian calendar is the most widely used system today. It starts the date as month, day, and year. Years are split into 12 months. Is designed to measure the movement of the Earth around the Sun. Time is divided into day, or the rotation of the Earth on its axis, months, or the linear cycle, and years, the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. The problem is that it doesn't quite work right. Gregorian calendar years are an estimation. It uses leap years as fidgeting methods to stop the drift between solar and lunar years. There are actually 12.37 linear months to a solar year. That means without leap years, the calendar falls out of sync with the day and month cycles. Even with leap years, our calendar loses a day over the space of 3,200 years. That may not seem like a lot. However, research has recorded the Gregorian calendar results in seasonal drift. It's proof the system does not work properly. The Gregorian calendar nearly works. It is a reason that it's out of sync due to a missing factor. Is the missing piece really that our solar system revolves around another star? otherwise known as a binary partner for the Sun. This orbit would influence the orbit of planets within our own solar system, exactly what calendars are supposed to measure. A binary star or two sun system could fix the Gregorian calendar. As it turns out, ancient calendar systems are more accurate. The dog star, Greek calendar, and Ceres mythology. The Gregorian calendar system was introduced by Pope Gregory in October 1482. Roman dating systems were being adjusted on previous attempts to align the solar and lunar years. The Gregorian calendar was designed to improve the Julian calendar that was losing one day for every 128 years. This is very inaccurate. If we explore ancient calendars, we find different methods of measuring the solar years. The Greeks used the Hellenic calendar. There is actually no one set Hellenic calendar used across classical Greece. The calendars were different, but most used Sirius to calibrate the beginning of the year. That's the cycle that measures the rise of Sirius, also known as the dog star, known to the Greeks of Satis. This cycle takes roughly 1,460 days, depending on what calendar system you use. It's why Sirius mythology was built into Greek philosophy. The Greek calendar didn't start the year from an arbitrary date like ours. Instead, they observed the rise of Sirius on the dawn of the longest day of the year. Known as the summer solstice, Sirius would appear just after the moment of sunrise. This is named the Hellectical rising of Sirius. The Greek systems began when this movement was observed. The moment when Sirius rose like a second sun in the sky. It may explain why there is no need for leap years. The Greeks used the rise of our second sun, or binary star partner Sirius, to calculate the solar and lunar calendars. Egyptian astrology, Syrian mythology, and ancient calendars. The Greeks were the first or only culture to use Sirius to begin the calendar year. The Egyptian calendar was also based on Sirius. In fact, the Greeks, in all likelihood, acquired this method from Egypt. In ancient Egypt, New Year's Day was signaled by the annual elliptical rising of the star Sirius. In Egyptian, it is known as Saltic. For a long time, it was thought this longer cycle was calibrated to the rise and fall of the river Nile. However, the tidal flooding of the Nile is highly unpredictable. Sirius in Egypt could be observed on the eastern horizon just before dawn on the summer solstice. The timing of the rise would determine whether an extra month with a few days would be employed that year. The rise of Sirius determined the calendar year. This method allowed for incredible accurate dating. The various lunar calendars, governed by a 360-day civil calendar moving forward through the season without being corrected throughout the entire Egyptian history. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, the season stayed alongside the important first day of the first month of the solar year. Across the globe, ancient cultures would use this system in ancient Mesopotamia to to the Dogon tribes in Malay, to the Hindu Yuga traditions across India, to the ancient Mayans in Mexico, New Zealand, and China. Sirius would set the beginning of the year. They all had Sirius mythology outlining its importance. By the time the Roman calendar was employed, it lost the calibrational point. Without setting the year to the rise of Sirius, the imperfect leap year method was needed to stop drifting of the seasons. Ancient calendar systems could be evidence that our solar system is rotating around its binary partner, Sirius. What is a binary star? Here's how a binary star works. Two stars rotate around a center of a mass, known as the barycenter. Binary stars orbit around a center of mass, known as the barycenter. If two objects have equal mass, the size of orbits will be equal. If the two have different masses, the lighter star follows a larger path around the barycenter. Binary star systems can exist in double, triple, and quadruple partners, which may be possible for our Sun. The types of binary partners for our Sun includes another star, a brown dwarf, a black hole. Actually, detecting the partner isn't as easy as it sounds. The star sibling could be a difficult to detect brown dwarf, or it could be another invisible object. Astronomers are just detecting low magnitude distant objects. NASA has been on the lookout for binary stars. In 2011, the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer completed its 1.25-year mission. It discovered a number of brown dwarfs within 20 light years. However, none of these were located near the solar system, making them unlikely binary partners. The largest non-planet, non-moon object in our solar system was found recently, Sedna, and the year before this, KX 76. A body larger than Pluto's moon was found. It was discovered after using virtual observatory techniques to comb through 18 years of data in 1.5 months. One possible distance of our second sun under Newtonian dynamics is 20 to 30 times further than Pluto. Had ancient cultures identified the partner already in the dog star Sirius? How does a two-sun solar system work? A Sun-Sirius binary system would mean our Sun is the smallest sibling. At 8.6 light-years away, Sirius is 71% larger than the Sun. Sirius isn't a single star, but dual binary, and likely triple star system. That means Sirius provides at least two larger siblings. The visual blue giant we see in the sky is called Sirius A. It is an almost invisible partner known as the white dwarf Sirius B. A white dwarf star has reached a point of its life cycle and collapsed to a very dense form. So dense, Sirius B is 92,000 times the density of our own Sun. Both mass and density difference affect a potential binary system. In a dual orbit, our tiny Sun would take an extremely wide orbit around Sirius A and Sirius B. So wide, we may have not developed the technology to detect Sirius is our binary yet. In our solar system, the orbits orbit the Sun, the planets orbit the Sun. In the binary star system, the whole solar system orbits Sirius A and Sirius B. If this is the case, there will be ways to detect Sirius as our second sun. The precession of the equinox of the notion of the motion of the solar system. One line of evidence for binary star system is the cause of the precession of the equinox. Precession is the very slow movement of the background stars in the sky. It's like a huge celestial clock that moves over a time period of roughly 24,000 years. The constellation that the sun rises into the spring equinox acts the arm like an arm of a clock pointing at the hour. Today, the sun rises very close between Pisces and Aquarius. The slow shift of these constellations is the precession of the equinox. What causes precession? Precession is still thought to be the lunar theory. It is the wobble of the Earth due to the gravity of the moon and sun. The dynamic universal model have revealed serious problems with the wobble or lunisolar theory. Newtonian equations that use the linear solar theory to calculate the rate of precession don't work. They set the movement of the sun at zero, motionless. However, it's now well known that our solar system is moving. Base precession of the equinox is far better explained as a movement of our entire solar system against the background stars. The binary star system helps for the lunar solar theory. It includes the speed of movement of the sun with the motion of the whole solar system that follows. A precession is the movement of the entire solar system. The question remains, what are we orbiting around? Can we link this orbit to the binary partner Sirius? Sirius, the flooding of the Nile, a precession paradox. Precession is the measure of the sunrise against the background of star constellations on the spring equinox. The constellation moves like 12-handed clocks across the sky. If Sirius is the sun's binary partner, like the sun, would have no motion against the star background. In other words, Sirius should not precess as the rest of the star's background do. For evidence, we can look at the history of Sirius in the sky. In Egypt, the rise of Sirius on the horizon marked the beginning calendar. For agriculture importance alone, it signals the flooding of the Nile that happened soon after. This method defies observation of precession of stars. Why would Sirius remain in this one spot? Sirius should process along with the other constellations. Then if it's not in a binary orbit with our sun, in which case it would stay steady and rise in the same place. If Sirius precesses would not be an accurate measurement for the flooding of the Nile. Today, the flooding occurs after the June rainy season in Ethiopia. It's where the Blue Nile arises. Sirius elliptical rising remains a central marker of the year throughout Egyptian history. So despite precession of the equinoxes, Sirius and the solstice remains locked at the same distance from one another during most of Egyptian history. The Egyptian calendar could be evidence that Sirius is steady in the sky as a binary partner would be. Today, we can calculate the movement of Sirius compared to the precession of the equinox. Measuring the precession of Sirius, the Sirius Research Group. The Sirius Research Group has studied whether Sirius does indeed move with the Sun. Since 1988, they have recorded the position of Sirius for approximately 20 years. To date, they have recorded no movement in its location relative to the precession of other constellations. Each year on July 4th, the sunrise at 30 degrees latitude, the Giza Plateau, or Memphis, the rise of Sirius can be seen. Throughout history, many accounts have observed Sirius and the Sun locked together. Data is clear evidence that demonstrate that Sirius does not precess. The elliptical rise of Sirius just before sunrise on the eastern horizon of the Egyptian desert, proving that our Sun is a binary sibling to Sirius, could be one of the biggest finds of the 21st century. The evidence is etched into thousands of years of ancient astronomy and calendar systems. The Gregorian calendar deviates precisely in its start point from the elliptical rise of Sirius. Leap years are a fudging method to stop the drift, but it still happens, and a shift in season is now recorded by climate scientists. Today, astronomers have confirmed both theory and observations that support a binary system. Unlike all the other stars in the sky, Sirius does not move against the Sun during the precession of the equinoxes. The 4th of July rise of Sirius may be the precise way to measure the beginning of the year. That's the point in time when the Earth, the Sun, and Sirius all line up together. It occurs during their orbit around a central point. That central point may be a third binary partner. Let's leave possibility third binary partners for another day. From there, our Sun and Sirius continue their majestic dance, moving apart and inevitably back together. This was a short explanation of the basic of the binary star theory. The Human Origin Project will be following the evidence of Sirius as a binary partner to our Sun. Now we want to hear from you. What evidence do you believe is most compelling behind Sirius mythology, the two-sun theory, and the problems of the Gregorian calendar? Sine waves. The complete life cycle of the universe is a complete one-period sine wave, negative to positive. Half cycle of sine wave represents active states, whereas positive to negative half cycle represents the latent state of the universe. Abstract. We know that everything has a life cycle. All living things, non-living things, countries, world, astronomical bodies, solar systems, galaxies, the universe, everything has a life cycle. According to Fourier, Any physical phenomena can be explained by a sine wave. Any arbitrary signal or physical phenomena is actually a combination of d constant part, a sine wave with fundamental time period and its harmonics. If we remove the harmonics from any arbitrary signal or physical phenomena, we will be left with only a sine wave, a fundamental period. The sine wave, a fundamental period, possesses over 90% of the signal's energy. This, if we remove all harmonics, we actually do not lose much energy of the signal. But we will get the basic shape of the signal or physical phenomena. A sine wave is the basic building blocks of all physical phenomena, including the life cycle, everything from my living things to the universe. A sine wave is the ideal shape of any life cycle. Little deviation is allowed by nature to form another shape on the basic sine wave. These deviations, although very little, can be termed as the effect of imaginary time that introduces unpredictability in the life cycle. The amount of deviation signifies the amount of unpredictability in the life cycle. The amount of unpredictability signifies the amount of imaginary time involved in life cycle. The amount of deviation, amount of harmonics, actually gives different shapes to the different life cycles. But if we do smoothing out the deviation by averaging them, we'll be left with the sine wave, basic building blocks of the universe. Binary stars. Many ancient cultures have said that our sun has a brother or sister in the sky. You may laugh at this, yet civilizations all around the world have said this. We have the Gregorian calendar, which Augustus and Julius Caesar added days to the calendar. One had appeared more powerful than another. It was mostly out of ego, not a good and practical idea. Every 4 years, we must have a leap year to make up for their unwise decision. Later, scientists have said that most stars are binary stars. Many modern-day scientists beginning to accept the wisdom of the ancient ones. Many ancient cultures have said that the sun revolves around a distant star. It takes around 12,000 years to go around the star. After 12,000 years, it proceeds to orbit backwards. This 24,000-year cycle has been explained in many indigenous cultures around the world. The ancient astrologers mapped out a cycle that goes from darkness to night in this map. It seems like the universe is a part of us, and we are a part of the universe. Guru Nanak once said that everyone knows that the ocean contains a drop of the ocean. Only a wise man understands that the drop contains the entire ocean. We are so busy texting on the freeway of life that the majority of people will never ponder and think what an incredible journey we are on. We are going from darkness to light. The great central sun. Everything in the material sphere has a correspondence, yet hidden spiritual component. Another way to think about it is everything has a soul. Everything has an animating principle, an indivisible, etherical portion that is connected to the Creator. Everything from dense rock, plants, animals, human beings, all the way up to planets and stars have a spirit. This concept is one that scientific materialism refuses to deal with, even though their own experiments prove it to be true. If we have a science that concern is only to catalog, we have a science that's concerned is only to catalog what can be measured objectively with our senses, then we are missing out on 95% of what's happening in the universe. Through meditation, psychedelics, out-of-body experiences, psychic events, and altered states of consciousness of all kinds, we're given a glimpse into what's possible in this vast and eternal spectrum of awareness. The scientific issues is that there are mostly subjective experiences, even though there are many studies that verify the existence of ESP. Science requires objective reasoning, so there's a paradox of play. How are we to bridge this gap between the supernatural and the propensity of science to ignore the mysticals? The universe is a giant mind that is connected by a neural network, just like our brain, as above, so below. It's comprised of distant energetic patterns held at particularly resonant frequencies that interact with each other. This process is so vast and complex that it's impossible to grasp its enormity with our brains because we're a fractal of the larger whole. This network is held together by a system of central suns. They are massive hubs of consciousness that govern a specific range of frequencies where sub-levels of creation can take place. These central suns are conglomerates of consciousness that offer light and love to lower levels of awareness and experience. In this sense, suns are like the batteries of the universe. The wattage of each sun has a different resonant power and frequency that's right for the level of learning that its particular solar system needs for growth. Each sun is inherently connected to the light of source energy, so stars, suns, and central suns are energetic portals that help to illuminate their portion of the universe with the Creator's loving light. It's a point of integration between spirit and matter in the cosmos. Each sun has its own spirit that resides in another dimension containing millions of elevated consciousness. These suns are like a filtration system for the loving awareness of the Creator. They help sustain life and feed the growing level of consciousness of the substrata that they govern and cultivate higher levels of awareness in the evolving life in its system. The power of Source is so tremendous that it will vaporize any consciousness whose resolute frequency is at a low vibration. So the sun and central suns help to transmute this light into more manageable frequencies, enabling lower levels of awareness to grow towards this immense vibration of love. In our solar system, our sun is part of the larger network of central suns. Our immediately central sun is Alkaline, the bright star in the Pleiades cluster in the constellation of Taurus. It is part of the group we call the Seven Sisters. It's about 6 solar masses, or 600% of our sun's mass. It's also 10 times the size, so it's gigantic. Our sun is in constant communication with Alkanon. It's like a cosmic dance that the two engage in a way to pass information, energy, and insights onto the development of ascending collectives to this part of the galaxy. When our sun gets closer to Alkanon, consciousness ascends. As it moves further away, a period of darkness results. This process is part of a 26,000-year cycle where our sun and solar system completes a full circle in its orbit around the central sun. It's also connected to a larger 500,000 and 2 million years cycles as we return to our source back to the Creator. As our solar system makes its way through the universe, it passes through various energy fields in space. We are closing in on one of these energy fields, now known as the photon belt. This is an incredible spiritual field and is part of the even greater central sun in our galaxy, Sirius. Photons of light emanate from the central sun and bathe our planet as we pass through it. It's a process where the darkness of egoic unconsciousness is illuminated and upgraded and awareness transpire. It's a process of synchronicity where our sun, the central sun, and the greater central sun align at the galactic center. This system is part of the Yuga cycle, a cyclical pattern that initiates the decline and expansion of consciousness. We are seeing a spike in awareness as more people wake up and darkness is exposed. Sirius is roughly 26 times brighter than our sun and shines like a shimmering diamond in our sky. Many of the fixed stars in astrology are sending us beams of information, and it can be beneficial to identify and communicate with them in the night sky when the opportunity arises. To have our planet or point in your chart at the degree of a fixed star has great meaning and effect on the life trajectory for better or worse. Regardless, the fixed stars are powerful portals of information transmission. Think about the enormous force that our sun exerts in our little corner of the galaxy. It takes immense power to hold 9 planets and thousands of asteroids in its orbit. Then contemplate the task of the central sun in holding entire solar systems in its grasp, and we get a sense of the magnitude of this galactic system of spiritual unfoldment. The grand central sun is the connection to source energy for all conscious existence within our universe. It's like a giant battery that filters energy from source and parses it out to other central suns, so conscious awareness can grow and lower levels experience all the way down to dense matter. So we are all connected to source. The universe is like a machine that absorbs conscious experience had by its lower frequencies components, all galaxy, systems, planetary realms, and incarnate beings, and shares that wealth of experience back to source. Everything is light. The entire universe is comprised of the light of the Creator, but at present our senses and instruments of measurement cannot detect the frequencies of light that fill the void. One of the purposes of this matrix dreamland is to shed the distortions and projections and open up to the light within us. It's like a maze where the center is you and you are made up of loving awareness. But we must use the illusion of the matrix to awaken. This is what Christ meant when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within." It's not in the external material sphere we call reality. The nature of the sun is giving. It radiates light, heat, and energy, and asks nothing in return. This is what we're all striving for, to become beings that radiate life force energy with great power and wisdom. As we move towards the central sun, it sends messages and vibrations that upgrade consciousness. If it feels our love, it feeds it. If it feels our fear, it sends us experiences that opens us to love, and sometimes these can be difficult and full of upheaval. In the light, we can see the mirror reflection. We should all be striving to shed ourselves of ignorance and move towards the realization that underlying literally everything is an intense vibration of loving awareness. Coming into alignment with the central sun means opening the doorway of the heart and transmuting fear into love. We can move into a higher dimension where fear does not exist, our hearts burning with the fire of the sun. So ultimately, there's nothing really to worry about. Even though ignorance and darkness stand real on this plane of existence, it's all trending towards the light. We all make it there one way or another. It's just that the ride may be bumpier from sun. The central sun. Imagine before this universe was even created, there was the great central sun. Mind you, it wasn't a physical sun. Modern day scientists would probably say this is the quantum field. In the quantum field, there is a universal mind. Albert Einstein's theory was that we are a fragment of the universal mind. Each one of us seems so separate, and yet our minds are the same. It is quite a paradox. Anyway, getting back to our story. The entire universe came from the central sun. There's a direct connection, an interchange of wisdom between the Creator and the creation. We are all interconnected. Unfortunately, we prefer to text on the freeway of life. This subject matter is much too boring for the average person. All I need is my Starbucks coffee. Once I drink my coffee, maybe I'll listen to you. everything returns to its source. Eventually, the entire universe will someday disappear like a thief in the night. Yet the quantum field is beyond time and space. It is eternal and infinite. A wise man understands this following riddle. If thy eye be single, thy whole body will be full of light. One who experiences this understands the meaning behind these words. Imagine the whole universe wisdom exists inside of your DNA. If you are eternal, that means you have existed for billions of years. How come we don't know that fact? Many of the wise men from the past posed that same question. Their answer was always, you must look within to discover your true nature. Imagine the whole universe wisdom exists inside of your DNA. Yet, we are oblivious to this wisdom. Many people, they say they have no need or desire to discover their true nature. No judgment there. You see, we're all on different journeys at the same time. We're on the same journey. That's quite the paradox. Did you know that the more attention you pay to the universe starts paying attention to you? That's quite the statement. In the beginning, you have to put a tremendous amount of energy into focusing within. After some time, there's a shift and the universe meditates on you. Inside of your DNA contains every life experience on this planet and beyond. You see, you helped create the universe. No, that's mind-boggling if you stop and think about it. Did you know there's a part of you that exists in the entire universe? This is your true nature. Yet we come into this world with full knowledge, and over time, we forget our true nature. Even after meditating for 47 years, we only get glimpses of who we were in the past. Maybe there's a reason behind it. We don't want to get stuck in the past. We are at an infinite journey of learning and growing. My twin brother and I have this feeling that we came from a different universe altogether. Where does that feeling come from? I have always felt that I'm a stranger in the world. From the moment go, I knew that I came from the stars. I knew that inside of me, life lies the universe. Yet I didn't know how to tap into it. I always knew that meditation was the key. Yet I thought that only a teacher or guru could show you the way. Yes, they provide tremendous help along the way. Yet they can't walk your journey. Only you can unlock the door within. I have realized that behind your breath lies the universe. Closing. My intention in writing this book was for the reader to go beyond the beyond. This life is a miracle. Unfortunately, we take it so much for granted. During the last year, I have lost many good friends. Time is just slipping away. One day you are here, and the next day you disappear like a thief in the night. In order for this world to change for the better, we must understand the sacredness of life. We must learn how to be custodians of the sacred land. Currently, the world at large is consumers. We can't go on this way. The world around us is reacting to our neglect. I wrote a poem years ago that we would be sued in the court of our Father for our neglect. The older I get, the more I see what a miracle it is that we are alive on this planet. We will never truly understand life's mysteries. I'm sure the scientists today are blown away by what they are discovering. We understand less than 1 grain of sand in the entire universe. Yet, we are content with texting on the freeway of life and think that is the only what life has to offer. I can offer any advice. I would say life is a miracle. Don't take it for granted. We are only here less than a second in time. Somehow we think we have all the time in the world to understand. What's your nature?